Hello and welcome to Transcendency Live. We're beaming at you live from Lancashire in the UK. I'm joined here today with my amazing guest, La French. He is a exceptionally innovative and creative musician, also based in Lancashire in the UK. How are you doing today, Luke?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, very good.
Brilliant, really good to hear. I was hoping if we could just talk a bit about your style, your influences, kind of maybe what sort of motivates you and your life set as well.
Yeah.
So, you typically describe yourself as kind of working with electronic and sort of hip hop, maybe a bit of sort of ambient
hmm
sort of styles. Where did that kind of idea come from? You know, what kind of maybe what kind of sparked you to think, yeah, this sounds really great.
Um, I won't say great, but yeah. Just a love of them genres. And yeah, kind of doing what I can to combine them, and it kind of feels natural for me to do that in a songwriting sense. They're the things that I enjoy, and that's what comes up when I write music. So that's where it comes from, I guess. Yeah.
I think it's always fascinating to hear people's stories as to how they got into music. Would you
Yeah.
mind sort of sharing where that kind of spark, where that inspiration came from, or that drive that sort of got you into music?
Yeah, I think I was always fascinated by music from a really early age. Um, yeah, let me think. Yeah, I think I like to take that when in the early 90s.
There's nothing wrong with liking take that. I think if
But
somebody says they don't like take that, I think they're lying to you.
okay, so yeah, that and then yeah, and then I begged my mum to get me the Fugees, the Score album, when I was really young, and then that was like my gateway into hip hop. Um, and then just kind of, I don't know, growing up, like being a teenager and listening to loads of metal and just not really pinpointing, just not really just settling into one thing. I've just kind of, yeah, I feel like, I know it sounds kind of cliche to say, but yeah, I like everything.
Yeah. Well, you've got a very much it's a very unique sound.
Mm,
I'd say in a lot of elements it is very genre defying or
mm.
possibly genre defining really, in that you take all these elements and you combine them exceptionally. If you don't mind me asking, what would you say your sort of key influences are in terms of musicians that you would listen to maybe growing up, or who you think is making great headway nowadays?
Um, been listening to loads of new stuff recently, to be honest with you, but I kind of, I don't know, I listen to a lot of jazz music, um, listen to a lot of John Coltrane, um, and it's not even so much um, there's amazing as how he played, but it's like the kind of, I don't know, the reason he was doing it almost to become like, I can't really describe how I feel about that music, but yeah, it's amazing. What else? Yeah, like Flying Lotus and Radiohead, things like that. Yeah, and yeah, big fan of Kendrick Lamar. I listen to Kendrick a lot. Yeah, that's about it recently. Anyway, yeah, yeah.
So, your set and your music typically encompasses a lot of ambient
Mm,
elements in it. Some exceptionally sort of gorgeous textures and a lot of very dynamic live work
yeah,
going on, as we can see with the set in front of us.
yeah.
What kind of got you interested in the kind of more ambient stuff? I know you wouldn't necessarily just define your music as ambient,
Mm.
but that kind of sort of atmospheric sort of sound. What would you say kind of maybe got you into that? Because I tend to find it's a very sort of niche field that a lot of people
Yeah,
would typically not choose to enter.
yeah. I think Eno's a big one. A big influence, like I guess with a lot of ambient artists, but I find he's a minimalist composer, but Steve Reich, I find his music to be ambient. How I listen to his music or appreciate it, um, and then yeah, studying him and his pieces a lot at uni at UCLan. Um, that yeah, he's a big influence. Excuse me. But yeah, there's loads, but kind of two that stick out in my mind. Yeah.
So currently it's May 2023. We've
Mhm.
just finally come out of COVID.
Mhm.
Um, I was wanting to ask you maybe kind of what the effects of COVID would have been in terms of doing your live sets. Maybe if that's kind of had any positive effect or negative effect in terms of your creativity.
Yeah, I feel yeah during lockdown etc. I thought oh, I've got like free time to be creative now and do loads of music, and I just didn't. Um, I feel like um, yeah, I feel like I need uh, I need interaction and conversations and travel and to be inspired. It's not less. I don't necessarily get inspired by music. It's more um outside of music that makes me creative. So that was kind of lost during COVID. But I did some. I know I still did some live sessions, just kind of like on that were set up by various venues. You know, that was online. Um, but yeah, it was a tough time for, and very fortunate that it wasn't my my main income, because a lot of musicians really struggled. If it was a nightmare, and yeah, bad times.
Hmm. I mean, the country itself, we've had a lot of music venues
Hmm.
closed down over the course of COVID. I think
Yeah,
the estimates was about a third,
yeah,
third of nightclubs and live music venues have
yeah.
been closed down. You have um, organisations like the Music Venue Trust who are doing sort of great work. I mean,
Hmm.
they're working with the venue that we currently know, the Ferret,
Yeah.
just down the road. I was more just thinking kind of what you thought of that, really, kind of what your opinions would be on the live sector these days would, and sort of how important it is for maybe musicians who aren't as established.
Yeah, I think it's massively important. I feel like without those venues, there's no there's no starter pack to getting into this business that it's graft. It's absolute graft. But without those venues, those small venues, there's no start. So they're so vital to creatives. And what I always think is, touching on COVID, without music and art, you know like film, obviously everyone watched all Netflix etc. But without these creatives, you know there's no entertainment. There's no so you the so them venues are really important, and as important as the artists are, who are getting into it. Yeah.
This may seem like a bit of a peculiar question, but what do you kind of think about the rise of AI in sort of music? Because you see now a lot of AI compositions.
Mm.
Do you ever think that there'll be sort of demand for a live gig done by an AI band?
I hope not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I mean, I know it keeps getting talked about in the press, etc. And um, I don't know. I don't really think about it that often. I feel like, yeah, I don't have much of a opinion on it. I just hope that, because then the creatives will really be in a mess if we're not even needed.
Yeah, well, I'm in complete agreement. I think it's quite a scary prospect, but
Yeah.
I just don't ever see an AI band having the same sort of, I think part of the whole magic of going to a live gig is you're seeing somebody on the stage making the sounds, making the
Oh yeah,
noises,
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
playing the samples, manipulate. It's there in front of
Hmm.
you. It's a
Yeah.
very. I think a lot of people don't necessarily think it's all that demanding, but it really is when you actually kind of deep dive,
Mm.
especially behind a set like this.
Hmm.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts, and I
Mm.
think it creates a magic around it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's a really great sort of environment around
Yeah, I
there.
think so. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, well, lastly, I was hoping you could just talk us a bit through your sort of live set, your sort of equipment. Let's just kind of
Yeah,
see
it's
what makes your music your music.
yeah, so I have the SP404, the sample pad that I use a lot. Um that's really important to my set. And a very simplistic micro Korg that I've had forever. And then I guess my guitar's really important to kind of add the textures and have that live feel. Or I feel like that's probably the most expressive part of it for me, or a part of the live set. Yeah, yeah, that's about it.
What do you say about there's kind of been a bit of a rise recently of sort of old technology coming back into current music. So, like for example, with the use of tape machines, and you've got a lot of especially younger creators now. They're buying a lot of really old toy synthesizers.
Yeah.
And they tend to kind of spark a lot of sort of creativity. What's kind of your view on that? Because there's two conflicting parties. You typically have people who prefer a very pure, very clean sound, and then you have another which likes the hiss and the crackle of tape. And
Yeah, definitely. I'm all for the analog sound. Yeah, I feel. I think it also in almost like a live setting, I can, I kind of will go and watch a lot of gigs where it's just somebody with a Mac, and it's like that's not exciting for me.
Yeah.
So I think if people are getting into older gear and older sounds, I'm always all for that. Yeah, definitely.
Would you say it's well, would you rather go and see a musician that makes the odd mistake, or a musician who plays it absolutely perfectly every single time? It's probably a bit of a weird question, that, but I figured.
Oh yeah, definitely the former. Like I've been performing since I was fairly young, and all them mistake. Well, like Miles Davis famously said, there are no wrong notes. So yeah, that's key to improv, and then mistakes are really important. That's why polished things on the radio, or that's why the rubbish. As such, or for me anyway, personally, that's how I find.
I think it ties back into the AI
Yeah,
conversation before.
yeah, definitely.
They'd play it perfectly every single time. Or if somebody does just have a MacBook and they press play,
Yeah,
you kind of do want to hear those timing errors, or the pitch errors. One favourite of mine is old synthesizers which aren't in tune. I think there's a really great character behind.
Definitely, yeah, I fully agree.
The last thing I wanted to ask you about was you have an album coming out in August with, is it Waxing Crescent?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It's called Pre-Post.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you wanted to maybe talk a bit about that, and maybe your inspirations behind it.
Yeah, so that's been a work in progress for quite a while. I mean, it's not, touching back on the pandemic. It wasn't a conceptual album to do with the pandemic. But I just kept feeling like you'd hear that phrase like, oh, pre-COVID, or kind of post-COVID, but for me the piece of work is kind of to do with love and loss, and how people deal with it, or how I've dealt with it in the past personally. So yeah, that's like I say, it's not it's certainly not an album about the pandemic, but it just felt a fitting title for the piece of work. Yeah.
No, I think that's inspirational. I think now more than ever, people kind of need that sort of connection, especially with the arts as well, as a way just to maybe sort of express or just resonate how they sort of feel. So, this is Luke French. Pre-Post out in August on Waxing Crescent. Make sure you save it, buy it, you do it, everything, as long as you support this man. How about we get onto your live set and listen to some great music?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming down. If I can get the sentence out.
Mate.
There we go.
That was good, man. Good work.